This week's conversation with Jen Simonic of Loose Ends is sponsored by Sassy Jack's Stitchery. Black Swans Studios, an extension of Sassy Jack's, has announced the Black Swans 2024 Encore Gathering, November 18 to 20, 2024. Jackie Duplessis and Kim Young have assembled a 3-day workshop featuring a gorgeous 1747 sampler reproduction and several three-dimensional needlework accessories inspired by the sampler. The event will be held at the Fairfield Inn and Suites in Weaverville, North Carolina, and the workshop is limited to 24 students. The sampler will not be available outside of the event. The $750 workshop fee includes all stitching supplies, lunch all 3 days, a reception, a stitch-in event, and many other goodies. To register, send email to classes@blackswansstudios.com with your name, phone number, and mailing address. Register soon, as this event is sure to sell out quickly. Thanks to Sassy Jacks for sponsoring the show, and now our conversation with Jen Simonic of Loose Ends. Welcome back. I'm Gary Parr.
And I'm Beth Ellicott.
You're listening to Fiber Talk, the twice-weekly podcast for the needlework artists. Our artist this week from Loose Ends, Jen Simonic. Jen, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. It's glad to be here.
Well, thanks for doing this because, all right, we got things to learn here today. Found you on Instagram, and it was like, holy smokes, didn't even know about this thing. Got to talk to her because we need to share this story. So let's just straight up, just tell us about Loose Ends, just give us the story.
Okay, so Loose Ends is an organization that exists to finish projects that fiber artists have left behind. So grandma was making you a baby quilt. We have a finisher that will finish that baby quilt and make sure that you get it back as a reminder of your grandma. So, this came to be about 2 years ago. We've been a nonprofit for 1 year, since last May, not this May, but the last May. And we started out with just an idea that we had finished projects, my partner Macy and I, we had finished projects for people in our life that had lost loved ones. And we wanted to make sure that we could share that feeling with other people, because it's a great thing to be able to help somebody finish something. When a project owner dies or an original crafter dies, they don't know, that family is left with something that's unfinished, and they don't always have a fiber artist to turn to get these things finished. And that's where we come in. So one of the things we know is that, because I knit, I get a lot of people saying, hey, my grandma died. Do you want my stash? Because grandma had this big stash. Do you want this? And fiber artists out there, do you want their stash? No, you do not want their stash. You've got enough stuff. However, you can't say that to somebody who's just lost their mom or the grandma. So, you'll go and look at the stuff, and inevitably you'll find a project, and you can help with that by helping people get that project done. And then that's how this started, is we were with my friend Patty's mom had passed away, and she had all of her stuff. And as I was sorting through the acrylic that I was going to give to a school, and the cotton that I was going to give to the senior center, and the needles to make sure she had a full set, she found these 2 blankets that her mom had been making for her brothers. And they were just started, and they were crocheted. And I do not crochet well, but I will crochet. And it was going to be like double crochet ad infinitum for this giant blanket twice over. And Macy and I had been talking about trying to come up with an idea of something fun to do together. Macy's on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast, and We both love fiber and both avid knitters. And she came up with the name Loose Ends, and it just had to come to fruition. So we left Patty's with these blankets. We Macy's a graphic designer, so she put together a website, flyers that people could print out, and we were off to the races. We very grassroots, literally. We made a list of all the places we had to go to. She drove me around. I gave people flyers that we posted them up. Some of them have my phone number to this day. If you want to get in contact with me, my phone number is on a flyer in a cafe somewhere. And within a month, we had 150 people who were like, yeah, I want to do this. Now, I need to tell you, I am not a special, interesting person because I finished projects that other people have. That's the first comment that I always get is, that's not new. We finish stuff for people all the time in my church group. And I'm like, yeah, you do. And that's great. But not everybody has a church group. Not
Right.
everybody has a synagogue. Not everyone has a mosque. Not everybody has a fiber artist in their life. We're for those people. The new thing that we have done is figured out a way to connect people who don't have fiber artists in their life to understand that to get that project that was important to that fiber artist done by someone who understands the value and the importance of it. So that's what's new, not the finishing, the connecting.
Right. So your origin then is knitting primarily, knitting crochet, but
Yeah.
you facilitate projects with any textile art or whatever they are. You don't care.
Yeah, no. As we grew, we found that people had quilts, and neither of us knew a lot about quilts. So I have a friend who quilts in the Las Vegas area, and she sat me down and explained what I needed to do. There was a lovely woman that works for Hodge Fibers. I think it's Hobbs Fiber. She talked to me for like 3 hours. This woman, Stephanie, talked to me for 3 hours explaining like what a reasonable ask would be for a quilt, what an unreasonable ask would be for a quilt. And then we started getting the cross stitchers and the needle pointers. And then we started getting some stuff like bunka. We didn't know what that was. We had to look it up. We have
bunka.
people. Bunka
What's
is
bunk?
a Japanese painting with thread. So it's like embroidery, but it's a specific to, and there was a bunka society in the U.S. up until the pandemic, and they went away. So we've got 30 different crafts listed on our list. Nell binding has never happened yet, but we're ready. The Bobbin Lace Society of America is ready and waiting. So if you got a bobbin lace thing out there, we got people for you. If it has a fiber, we'll do it. We've had felting, which is like the most fiber you could have, to finish sewing. Somebody finishing a jacket that mom had left behind. So if it's got thread, we'll do it. We do get a lot of angry letters from woodworkers saying, why not woodworking? And we just don't know how to get a table from one side to another. We might do it at some point. If we get enough woodworkers, we might be able to pull it off. But one of the things about fiber arts is they're usually portable.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a standing loom, and then you got to rent a truck. But
right. And this is a global thing. I mean, you have people who will finish virtually anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah, we're in 65 countries. We just got to Afghanistan recently, which is kind
Holy
of
smokes.
awesome. We don't have projects there, but we have one intrepid finisher who's ready to do work if they can. We are currently working on projects in 13 countries, and as of today, we have 27,000 finishers signed up in all over the world.
That's amazing. That is absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So I have a relative die, leaves a project that I want finished because it has special memories for me. Take me through the process from that person's perspective, and then take us through from the finisher perspective. How does this all, the mechanics of this?
Thank you for asking, because a lot of people think that all I do all day is knit and crochet and finish other people's projects, and I don't. I barely finish my own projects.
Yes,
But what
yes, yes.
I'm looking like right next to me are about 7 that are started, and I'm working on a sweater as I sit here, and there's a baby blanket. I mean, it's a mess. But this is how it works. If somebody wants to get a project finished, um, you don't necessarily have to be dead. That if you've lost the ability to craft, if you have early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, if your hands just don't work anymore, if your eyesight doesn't work anymore, we will also take that into consideration, because that's a thing that happens. That's life, right? And we understand that. So you go to our website, you go to looseends.org, and there is a submit a project button, and you click on that, and it takes you to a Google form. You don't necessarily have to have a Google email to fill it out. That's important to know. And you guys got to fill in the questions. We ask you who made it. Tell us a little bit about them. Tell us the story behind it. Who's it supposed to go to? What is it? Do you know? Is it knitting? Is it crocheting? Is it hairpin lace, which is a fun one that we didn't know what it was? Tunisian crochet, which looks like knitting, but it is not. If so, do your best guess. If you don't know, that's fine. We'll figure it out. Take pictures of it. I get a lot of pictures where everything's all jumbled up, and they're like, and I'm like, and then what I'm doing is holding knitting, and it's just in a ball. That doesn't help. Spread the piece out. Make sure that you can take a picture of it. If it's needlepoint or some kind of needlework, take a picture of both sides so that we can see how much has been completed. Um, Take a picture of the materials that have come with it. If you don't have any materials, that's okay. We will help source those materials for you. Um, Take a picture. If you can share a picture of the original crafter, that would be delightful, because we get the word out through Instagram. So it's nice to be able to share those stories when they're done. And then contact information as much as possible, and then send it in. And then what happens on the flip side is I get this email. Angelica, who's one of our project managers, gets this email. Macy gets this email. And it says, that we're looking for a project in St. Louis, Missouri. Can you find somebody to do this for me? And then what I do is I will take the information, and I will find the address of the person, and I will go onto our website, where we have an app that we have developed. I live in Seattle, and I live next to a lovely couple. And on Christmas Eve, after our first event on the news, I was on the news crying, talking about our project. And apparently Mark went to bed saying to Megan, "I'm not going to help Jen with this project." And I was like, "I didn't ask you to help Jen with this project." At that point, we had 500 finishers in a spreadsheet, and we had 20 projects. So I thought I was doing pretty well, because I could, use the search. I don't know if you've ever had a spreadsheet with 17,000 rows on it.
Nope.
It's not
No.
ideal, not great. So what Mark did for us is he made a web app that when somebody comes onto our website, the finishers can sign up to be finishers, and they can fill out information saying what they like to do, what they're good at. They can self-rank. Are they experts? Are they intermediate? Are they beginners? Give us some pictures of what they do, and they can then become finishers for us. So Mark made the technology that allows us to do this. And because Mark did this, we can now pop in an address, and up will pop the pinpoints on a map showing us where people exist near that project to help finish it. So if I pull up the map in Seattle, I have over 900 people who are willing to help with projects. And then I can sort it by who does crochet, who does quilting, who does needlepoint. And then I can pull them up, and they'll be red, green, or yellow. Green would be an expert. They've said they're an expert. Yellow means they're an intermediate, and red means they're a beginner. But not everybody who dies with projects was an expert. So we do have some projects that a beginner could help with. So That's really handy. So when that project from you comes in, Gary, we can take that project, I can put it into my app, I can figure out where that person is, and then I start to match. I look for a finisher who's nearby. That way you can walk the project to them, you can drive the project to them.
Mm.
People don't like to put these in the mail, and I can
Mhm.
understand. It's the last thing grandma worked on, it's the last thing mom worked on. You don't want to throw it in the mail and have the vagaries of the postal system deal with it. So it's really important to have somebody nearby. And that also helps build community, right? Like you didn't know that the person 3 houses down was a knitter and wanted to help you. Well, now you do, and now you've got a friend. Um,
Right.
the second thing is it something they're good at? Is it something that they know how to do? And we put it all together in a nice email, send an email to the finisher and say, hey, we got a project for you to consider. This is where it is. This is why it's important to that person. These are the situations. They can't have any cats near it. They can have dogs near it. They were smokers. Do you work with stuff that smokers have done? And then they can say yes or no. They can say no to every project we send them. They can say yes, get the project, start working on it, and say I'm over my head. And we'll say that's okay. We'll get another one. And then the last thing we check is this the kind of thing you like to do? I like to knit. I know how to crochet. I don't want to crochet. We have people who are like, I will never do another paper piece quilt again. And we're like, you know what? Fair. I don't want to do that. But there's some people who are like, oh, if you got paper piece quilting, I want it. Just give me all the paper piece quilting.
Uh-huh.
So that's how we connect them. And then my job is just to kind of be the hall monitor. Hey, did you do the project? How's it going? What's going on? Are you still happy with the project? I cannot tell you how many pictures of casts I've gotten where people are like, I was doing it so well, and then I broke my arm. And I'm like, that's okay. You're part of the story. It's the next person. It's fine. Um, so
But
it's
that's important, I think, to emphasize is that as a person who's finishing the piece, that if it's not working for you, you're welcome to say no and move it
yeah.
on to someone else.
Mhm.
You're not pressured to get it done because you took it.
Nope. Nope. The only thing you're pressured to do is to communicate with me. And I'm not that scary. So just, like talk to me. I have people who, they've taken on these projects and they get embarrassed because they can't finish them. That's okay. That's all right. Just give it back and we'll find somebody else. We've had projects that have had multiple people, and sometimes they have had multiple people because the first person we had this wonderful crochet project, not crochet, cross stitch project. It was massive, and it had over 50 little vignettes on it. About 38 had been finished, and then the rest of them needed to be designed. And we gave this to one 23-year-old girl, and she was trying her best, and she had school to do. And so what we ended up doing, and what we've been doing with these bigger projects, is we find a project manager. We found this woman named Terry, and Terry had 7 designers under her. Terry was the point of contact, went back and forth, so it became a more manageable ask for the thing. And we've only been at this since August 2022. So we're learning every day, and we're getting more information and learning how to do things a lot better. And it's not just us. I mean, we've got all of our finishers, and our finishers are such that we also have a Facebook page for them, and we can say to the Facebook page, hey, I think that this is a knitting project. And they will come back in seconds and be like, no, 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 that is Tunisian crochet. How could you make that mistake? And I'll be like, I don't know everything. So tell me more. And then within 20 minutes, there'll be like 4 tutorials posted in our Facebook group. And then there'll be 5 people who are like, this is my jam, send it to me. And we're like, okay. So our Facebook group, I call them the Scoobies because they are awesome. We have one woman that's my friend who is in Portland, Oregon, and Amy is our hall monitor. She makes sure that nobody's bad. She tells everybody what to do in the Facebook group. And I have to tell you, with over 10,000 people, it's remarkably civil and kind and just wonderful. Because I think my favorite thing that happened, and it happens all the time, but this is my favorite thing. I posted a crochet pattern, and I was like, there was no pattern with this. I don't know what to do. And within 20 minutes, one of our finishers said, "Okay, I know this pattern. It was in Homemaking magazine from
Uh-huh.
1973." And I was like, "Oh, great." So I'm starting to look, and then within like 10 minutes, he's like, it's in my closet, and I can't get to it. I'll just write it up for you." So we had like a handwritten copy of what it was. That's how awesome these people are. And if as a science nerd myself, like, how awesome is it to watch people nerd out on something? Like, it's just
Mhm.
like, that's the best thing in the whole world, is to be able to facilitate a group where all we do is like help each other solve knitting mysteries and quilting mysteries, and it's just really fun.
Yeah. Now, does
I think I
money?
answered your question.
Yeah, yeah, you did.
Sure.
I have more. I have more, but that's okay.
Okay.
Does money exchange hands in this thing, or how is there?
That's a great question. All of our finishers are volunteers, so they're not getting paid. Um, if materials need to have, like, be added, so if you've got a quilt top, we don't expect our volunteers to pay for the batting and the backing and the binding. We probably figured that if it doesn't have it, you're not going to know, as a person who owns this, that it needs the backing and the binding and the
Yeah.
batting. So usually what happens is our finishers will buy that stuff, and then it's the project owner's job to pay the finisher back for the supplies. On the rare occasion that we need to find a long armor or something, and we can't get one to volunteer, we will ask for them. We'll tell people ahead of time that it needs to be long armed, and that will cost this much. But we're getting more and more long armors signing up to help us, which is
Oh,
kind of amazing, because that's like their job.
right.
But every
Right.
once in a while, they'll do a free one. So it to the long armors out there, we're not expecting you to do free work all the time. It's usually like, because we've got 27,000 volunteers, you might be asked once. And if you're up for the challenge, let us know. That's great.
Yeah.
But you can always say no too.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have a lot more finishers than you have people submitting projects.
We do, and I mean, that just kind of comes with with the with what happens, as fiber artists. We know that this is important. We understand that it needs to be done. People who don't do fiber arts might not know that
Hmm.
that what they have. I My favorite story is, I had a woman submit a project, and they were like, "My grandmother was an expert knitter." And I'm looking at a 50 chain crochet and nothing else, and I was like, "Oh, what is this?" And it was, grandma was learning how to crochet and never really finished anything. Had part of a bag, like a grocery bag, started. So I found a crocheter, and I was like, I'm really sorry to do this to you, but she kind of just wants something. So we took the grocery bag, and she found some driftwood, and she made basically like this collage, or like a window box hanging thing. And then she took the 50 crocheted piece, or the 50, chain, and turned it into that woman's grandmother's first initial.
Oh,
So
Oh,
people don't know that
very
they have
neat.
these things. That's why it's kind of impressive that we find them anyway. Like, it's kind of a big deal that uh, when they do find us. So
Hmm. Well, and to me, I go to a lot of estate sales, and you find things, and you think, I did unfinished projects, all these
yeah,
UFOs, and I wonder if people just don't know that you could have this finished from grandma if you wanted.
yeah,
Maybe something done, which
yeah.
is special. I mean, I have something my aunts gave me. It was a bunch of unfinished quilts from my grandmother, and it sat for years in a box. And I finally said, you know what, I need this done. And I contacted a friend, Two Long Arms, and I said, I need this to be functional. That's how my grandmother would have wanted this.
Yeah.
And they got them finished, and that was one of my kids' Christmas presents. I said, use them. I said, the only caveat I have is if you decide you're ready to get rid of them and I'm still here, I'd like them back.
Yeah.
I said, you don't know your grandmother, but I did, and she wanted those to be used. So, but if you don't know anybody, what are you going to do? I mean, my aunts
That's
literally shipped them from Texas to Illinois, and I was like, you could have had these finished down in Texas, but
yeah. No, and that's the thing. Like, if you don't know, you don't know. And I mean, my one plea to all the people who are going to leave unfinished projects, and it's everybody. I know. I mean, the people who have their Christmas shopping done already now, they're not going to have unfinished projects, and I'm not for you, and that's okay. Like, you can be a finisher, and I'll be fine. But for the rest of us humans on Earth that don't have this, and will be buying Christmas presents on Christmas Eve, know this: not every project needs to be finished. So take a good hard look. And if you're not a planner, just look through your stuff. There is a bikini that is being crocheted by me at this point in time. At some point, I thought it was a good idea. It is no longer a good idea. I need to get rid of it because God forbid my daughter finds it. She'll be like, oh, somebody should finish this so mom can be buried in it. No, 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 no. That's not something that needs to happen. So take good stock of your stuff and make sure that it's what you need finished, right? Like,
right,
sometimes you try
right.
stuff and you're like, that seemed like a good idea, but that was a really bad idea and I don't want it. I don't want it anymore. But find the one thing that you're like, this is a baby blanket for a baby that might be born. That's great. But there's some ugly stuff out there that might not have any meaning, and that's okay. There's some ugly stuff that has a lot of meaning. And I mean, we've had people who said things like, everyone has an ugly blanket from grandma except for Bob. And I'm like, does grandma know that you're calling her blankets ugly? And they're like, oh, yeah, she knew. Okay. All right. That's
Family
fine.
dynamics right there. Yeah.
Right, right.
Oh man.
Ugly blankets. That's a funny one. That's yeah, yeah.
Yes. Oh geez. So from the finisher perspective, then it's again just fill out the form, be honest about what you
Be
can and can't
honest.
do.
Yeah.
Don't overrate yourself. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and there's about 30 different crafts. If you don't do that craft, don't answer that question. That's okay. If you only do felting, that's fine. We'll take you as an only felter. If you only do crochet, that's fine. If you only do sewing, that's fine. Whatever you feel comfortable showing your skills off for is fine. And if you're a beginner, just tell us you're a beginner. There are a lot of unfinished chevron afghans out there that would be great. There's a lot of, we've had latch hook rugs. So if you're a latch hook rug person, let us know. We'd love to use your skills. It's okay to be a beginner, and it's okay to be honest with yourself. And it's just super important that, we've had people who won't give us their phone number or email. And I'm like, well, you can't be a finisher then. We need to know where you live. We need to know what your phone number is. We don't use this information other than to match people, but we do need it to match people closely. Stuff we never care about is what political party you're in. What we never care about is what church you go to. If you want to tell us, great. I'm happy to hear about what you have to say, but that's not what we're here for. We're all here for helping other people. And we have some really beautiful connections with people that might not talk to each other in other ways just because of, some things that they believe. But because of crafting and because they appreciate the work that goes into it and because they understand grief, they're there to help people that they might not talk to. And some nice friendships have been formed. So we like that part of it.
Yeah, and that's interesting. You use the word grief. You're playing a role in that process.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of grief. And lucky for me, my parents are both still around. I haven't had a lot of loss in my life, but it's coming. So at some point, people that you love will pass away. And it's important to be there for people and to share your talents the way you can. So that's why we do this. Plus, it's been super fun to help people and and get to know crafting in this way.
Right. It must be incredibly rewarding, yeah, especially when one comes together. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, and watching our finishers and how they react to it is even. I think that I don't think I don't think the helping it was surprising. Crafters are just a really generous group of people. I mean, they help people all the time. You can't shake a stick without seeing somebody who made blankets for NICU babies, or AIDS quilts, or you know things for veterans that need them. Like there are a lot of organizations out there, knitted knockers. Like there are so many organizations that are worthy of your time and energy. Um, so it's not surprising to me that when we say, hey, we want to do this thing, we want to help people, that we had people signing up left and right. And I do get a lot of people who say, you got 27,000 people, you got 2,500 projects, do you really need any more project finishers? Yeah, we always need finishers. And I like to say this: I used to teach CPR, and I've probably taught a couple thousand people how to do CPR. I hope none of them ever have to use it, because it's a traumatic thing to do. But I feel good that there's people out there waiting to do CPR if they need to, and they're
Yeah.
ready and prepared. And that's the way I think of our volunteers. We got 27,000 people who are ready to raise their hand if they're called upon. And we never know when these projects are going to come in. And we have a lot of people who are like, I want my project. Where is it? And I'm like, well, nobody's died near you, and I'm sorry. I don't have that power, but I'm really appreciative that you're here, and you can help in many ways. We have flyers you can print out. You can help be one of our Scoobies on the Facebook page and help us decode the problems we have. There's lots of ways you can help. So if you don't get we have people who get projects automatically, and then we have people who don't get any projects. And it's never personal. It's just where you live, and whether or not somebody nearby has passed away or has become infirmed and can't do their craft anymore. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so neat that you try to have people within proximity to each other, because well, obviously you're not shipping things all over the world, but it also, there's that, like you said, a community and a connection, and it facilitates communication too. I got to believe, in terms of
Yeah.
how I'm doing. And
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, from a money standpoint, it's cheaper. Shipping stuff's expensive. From a safety perspective, you don't have to worry about it disappearing in the mail. From a community perspective, you're getting people to know each other. We had this one group where this one couple where we kept emailing, how's things going? Everything going okay? What's going on? And finally, one of them said, we're friends now. You can go away. And we were like, oh,
Oh.
okay.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Send us a picture when you're done. We've had people who are like, well, I finished the project and I was so invested in the family. I taught the project owner how to crochet, and we meet once a week and have
Excellent.
coffee and crochet, which is lovely. We've had people who are like, I really would like to get this project finished, but I kind of want to do it myself. Is there anyone who could just help me? And we've had finishers just kind of stand there and hold somebody's hand while they finish it, which I think is really lovely too.
Yeah, that's great.
I make light of things, but I mean, it's a pretty spectacular gift that people are giving. And I'm not making light of them, but I have to be kind of buoyant, or else I'll be really sad all day.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like when I saw my grandmother's quilts finished. She had given me one when I graduated from high school. That's what she did for all her grandchildren. She made one, and I don't know how many grandkids she had. Tons. She had 13 children. So, so seeing those quilts finished was very emotional for me, because they'd been sitting in a box for years before I finally said, I'm not finishing these. I need to find someone to do it for me. And there's something about it, though. There's that, having that thing that my grandmother made is so special. The tactile, the feeling it, it's a connection to her. And even though my kids never met her, they now have that connection too, which is cool, I think.
Well, it's super cool, and if you think about it from a biology standpoint, you're sloughing off skin cells every time you touch something, and that those contain your DNA, and that DNA is embedded in the fibers that you're crafting with. So you're really holding and touching something that has a part of that person in it, and
Hmm.
and to me, that's kind of a spectacular thought right there. Um, and our finishers are so funny because they get super emotional doing, like, passing that over to the family, and they get in some of the crochet project or the knitting projects, they'll mark the last stitch done by the original crafter. In knitting, they do a duplicate stitch, which looks like a little heart, so it's just adorable. In crochet, they'll do a duplicate stitch, or they'll put like a little charm. And in quilting, they'll mark off the last thing. One time, somebody had a needle that had rusted, and they highlighted that by doing some embroidery around it, because that's such a special, like, that was like the last place they put the needle. That's such a
Hmm.
spectacularly fantastic thing to know.
Oh
You know,
man.
Right,
Oh
right, right. And as crafters, we know that, we know that that touches us because that's we know that feeling. When you put a
right?
project down and that's the last thing you've done on it, and you pick it up again, you say, "Oh, that's where I left off." But for someone who doesn't craft, and then they look at it and think, "Oh, that's where Grandma or Mom or Dad stopped,"
Yeah,
and
it's
it'd be touching, very moving.
right. Like, it's such a profound thing to see someone's last action on something.
yeah.
And it
Hmm.
wasn't us that came up with it. Of course, it was one of our wonderful finishers. This woman, Valerie, a gentleman had lost his wife when she was in her early 30s, and he was
Oh.
cleaning off her bedside table. And this is when I still had my phone number out. And I got a phone call from him saying, "Hey, can you help me?" And I'm like, "Yes, can I come to your house now?" And like, got a finisher. And she's like, "I'll go to his house right now." I'm like, "Okay, we have a plan." Um, but she had started I want to say brioche, but that's not the name. That's a bread. They're the very complicated stitch, and our finisher Valerie was like, I'm going to do a duplicate stitch where she did left off, and she also put in a lifeline so that she wouldn't lose any of the stitches that the person had started. So, just some every time we hit a roadblock, our fabulous finishers are like, "How about this? What do you think about
Yeah.
this? You could do this." And it's been pretty amazing. And when you hear our finishers talk, they talk about us as a loose ends community. They're like, "Well, we at loose ends." And I mean, if you're looking at the people who run it, yeah, there's two and a half of us, but the only way it works is with all these people who are helping. So yeah, it is we at loose ends, which is kind of
Yeah.
spectacular.
That's
I've
That
had
is neat.
people tell me about it, which was that's how I kind of knew, like,
yeah.
something was happening. They're like, "Have you heard about this thing?" I'm like, "No, tell me more."
Oh, that's great.
That
That's
is
great.
fantastic.
Yeah. Now, if I take on a project, is there this isn't going to come out right, but is there some pressure to finish it in a certain amount of time, or
That's
how do
actually
you
a great
deal with
question.
that?
That's a great question. There's no time limit. These things take time. That's the one thing that's hard for our project owners, is that they don't understand the work that goes into this a lot of time. They know they
Yeah.
can't do it, but they don't understand that. Like, we have a Torah cover, which a Torah is the scrolls that they use in a synagogue. It's like the Bible in a Jewish community. It's part of the Bible, actually. Um, we're on podcast for this. But anyway, Torah is very big, and it
Hmm.
scrolls, and there are Torah covers, and the finisher has picked up this Herculean task of needle pointing a Torah cover, and that's a very big thing. And we also have some piano benches, so some very big projects that they're going to take upwards of 2 years to finish. And we've told people, like, this is going to take a long time. We're going to let people have a long time. Every once in a while, there's something like Beth's 90th her father's 99th birthday was coming up, and somebody was like, you know what, I can get it done for him. Like, I can get that project done. Sometimes a child is going to outgrow a special sweater, and people do it. We had one project where a mom said, our neighbor made a crocheted blanket for my kid, and we didn't realize it, but it is the blanket. She won't go to sleep without it, and it has so many holes in it now that
Oh.
we can't let her sleep with it because it was in a bag at this point. And she's like, do you have anybody? And I was like, yes, we will find somebody. And I found somebody that day. I told her the situation. They met that night. They finished the blanket. The kid had it the next day, which
Wow.
is not
Wow.
expected. That's not
No.
expected. That was above and beyond. That we are not, like, if you want something done in time for a wedding or for Christmas or something like that, there are people who you can pay to do that. But if you want something done from the heart, that we can take care of you. Now, if you have a project for a year and I don't hear from you, I will track you down and come and get it back, because that's not okay. Communication is key. If you've had it for a year and you're like, I'm working on it, it's taken a long time, but you're talking to the person who the finisher, because we connect you guys, like we connect the project owner with the finisher and say, talk, give weekly updates, give every 2-week updates. Let people know how you're doing. That's the most important part, that communication. We have had people who are working away and just so in it that they forget that they have something really special and that somebody needs to know what's going on.
Yeah.
I have one woman go, oh, I can't believe I forgot to tell her I'm almost done. I should just tell her I'm sorry. And then she took it up. That was a really delicate one, because it was a woman's daughter had passed away
Oh.
by suicide, and it was just this, she felt terrible about it, and not knowing where that object was really making her stressed. And the woman who had it, just, I didn't realize how big it was. This is the beginning. I didn't know how big things could be. It was she started with this rainbowy, it was kind of a cattywampus thing where she was adding stitches and losing stitches, and it was kind of all over the place. And you could tell that the original crafter had some distress, and our finisher turned it into a rainbow on a field of granny squares, and had to really really do some creative thinking to make it work. And there were a couple of holes that she patched and made the woman, the original crafter's initials on it. So like some beautiful things are done, and that the original crafter's mom gets that now and has that and can wrap herself in that and know about those wonderful things about her daughter that she loved and misses. So it's kind of spectacular.
Wow.
So no time limit. No time limit. Just talk to us.
Yeah.
Just talk. Just communication.
Talk about how you get how people help you spread the word. The marketing end of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, coming on to shows like this helps us all day long. This is great. Having people hear about us is fantastic. So if you know of a local newspaper or a guild that wants to hear about us, let us know. We will Zoom for those things. We have on our website a flyers page where you can download a flyer and you can put the flyers up in wherever you think somebody might need to see them. Coffee shops, old age homes, any place of worship, any place where a community center, any place that people are going to come in and see it. And they can, from that flyer, know how to sign up as a finisher, sign up as somebody and submit a project or donate to us. In those flyers, we've got 27 different languages, because we realize that not everybody who crafts speaks English. And that's important to us to get out into other communities. And some of those flyers have things on them that are more directed towards that community. So if you're in a community of people who speak Thai, they might not be wearing Icelandic sweaters. They might have a different type of embroidery that's specific to their culture. And by seeing those images on the flyer, they might be able to remember something that someone was working on. So spreading the word that way is great. In February, we have Roundup at the counter with Joann's Fabric. They're our corporate sponsor. They've been generous from the beginning. And if you're so inclined to buy things in February from Joann's and think of us, we'd love it. Yeah, so there's all different ways. If you're a finisher yourself, we have little cards you can print out and you can hand them out to people and say, "Hey, I'm a finisher, and this is the organization that I work with." The more you spread the word in your community, if you're a finisher, the more you'll be able to get a project.
Yeah. Okay.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
When
Yeah.
Beth and I were preparing for this, we both exchanged texts about it because on your website you have some stories.
Yeah.
Beth sent me a text that she was at the brink of
Uh,
tears, and
yeah.
I'm sorry.
at the time I was going through all the mechanics of the site. Then I got to the stories, and I wrote back to her, I was fine till I got to the stories.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They're so touching.
Oh.
But the one for me was Betta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did the grandfather get the sweater or whatever it was on his 99th birthday?
He did. He did.
good.
You know, sometimes there's special occasions where we'll tell the finisher like, "Hey, do you think there's no pressure, but do you think you could get this done?" And um, Betha is a professional photographer, and she sent us a picture of her dad holding the beginnings of a sweater that his wife had been making for him before she passed away, and it's just the most heart-wrenching photo.
Oh, it is.
And
Oh, it
then
is.
she
Oh,
she when he got the sweater back, she took a picture of him in the sweater, and it's lovely. It's just a really lovely photo, and it's hard. It just it gives you all the feels.
right, right.
Mm-hmm.
What was
Mm-hmm.
yours, Beth? What was
It
yours?
was the one when that someone wanted their a weaving cut off the loom.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that one was tricky because that was in a remote part of Alaska, and some woman had learned to loom and or to weave, and she had a standing loom in her house. And I think the part that gets me every time was that the person said, "It's like she was just walked away and she was going to come back any minute now and finish," which is
Oh,
just
that
such a
just
heart-wrenching.
it gives me
Oh,
shivers. Oh.
um, and we had just done a talk with the Anchorage Weaving Guild, and we reached out to them because we couldn't find anybody to do it, and they sent somebody up to take care of it and got it off. And this particular project owner didn't want anything added, just wanted the project taken off the loom and tied, and that's what they did. And they were able to do it pretty quickly because they knew what they were doing. So that was pretty spectacular. That was
Yeah.
spectacular. Yeah.
Yeah, I went back and read that story after Beth and I had exchanged things, and I read it, and then it hit me. I don't want anything added. I want it just the way she walked away from it. Don't
Mm-hmm.
just please end this and get it off so we can have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
oh man, that's so powerful. Yeah.
Right.
It
How
is.
meaningful. Yeah. How meaningful for the husband, to see that and just to have it and know, okay, that's where she. I mean, it just. I don't know. Just touches me.
It's a pretty spectacular feeling, right? I mean, he had this daily reminder of what his spouse was working on, and to have somebody come out and actually be able to finish it so it's something that he could keep. And it's just there's just a lot of powerful feelings around these objects. And I mean, to some people it's just stuff, it's just fiber, but to the person that is missing that loved one, it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
It's
yeah.
really important. But
No, we all have them. I mean, when I was going to college, my grandma was a crocheter. Can you be a crocheter? Is that what you do? I don't know.
yeah, that's what you are.
But I'd like to crochet an Afghan, and I said,
Mm.
"Oh, fantastic!" And we all know blue is my favorite color, and can it be blue? And I said, "And can you make it long enough and big enough that I don't have to scrunch up under it?"
Yes, because that's a big deal with the Afghans.
Oh man, they're always too small. And because we have the one she made for my brother, and it's standard size, and it's
Yeah.
essentially useless, you know. But this one that she made for me is just this gigantic thing that you can just stretch out and pull up to your neck
So
and all the
nice.
things. And to this day, I'm almost 70 years old now, and that was when I was going to college. We still have it today, and it is the most favorite. It has for our kids, for my wife, for me. That's the one you want, and for me, it's I remember her sitting in her chair in the living room crocheting this thing for me, this thing that went
Oh,
on and on and on, and I'm sure she was sick of it, but I just treasure it. I'll always treasure it. Yeah, those
uh,
Yeah.
things. Yep.
those things are important. I do have something funny to say about so our friend Patty, who we made the first two blankets for. Um, we had this wonderful woman named Eugenia in Maine, and Eugenia got that blanket done. It was a big deal. We got it home, and then we had this other finisher, and we couldn't. I kept checking in, like, "Hey, how's it going? How's it going? Oh, good, good, good. I'm working on it. I'm working on it." And we got this email saying, "Hey, I have something to tell you." And we were like, "Oh
Here
no,
we go.
what happened?" And we get this. She's like, I was crocheting away, but I came back to it and it was really heavy, like unusably heavy. And she spread it out. It's supposed to be a queen size quilt. She spread it out on a queen size bed, and she's been working so hard and so happy about it. It was a double length queen size quilt that she
Holy
had made.
smokes.
We were like, "That is hilarious." She's like, "I just kept going. There was still yarn," because Patty's mom, at the end was buying extra yarn and had way too
Right.
much yarn. So at this point, I was like, "Can you steek crochet? Can you cut crochet? And like, can we make two blankets out of it?" She ended up ripping it out and was very funny and very kind, and like she was gracious because we were kind of ribbing her. We're like, "Yeah, that's a little big. That was too big." But it
Yeah,
did get but yeah, these things happen, and you're like,
yeah,
"Oh, okay."
yeah. Well, and all of it is humans trying to do good for others.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When somebody can't finish and they need to move on, I you know, I'm not gonna get mad at you for trying to do a good thing. I just don't
yeah,
have it in me. Like, you're trying your best. That's all that we can ask from any human. You're just gonna, we want people who are competent and can do it and communicate. And there's no time limit. You just
right,
tell us what's going on, and we're happy with what you get done. And people are like our finishers really are very talented. Uh, we had a blanket that needed to be fixed recently, and I was like, "There's no way that that's going to be," because anytime somebody has big holes because of whatever, I'm always like, "Okay, well, maybe we could do some visible mending so you can see what happened, but it's still good." And
yeah.
this one woman was like, "I don't want to see anything." And I was like, "Well, you might see some stuff because these are big holes that we're trying to mask." And our
Mhm.
finisher got it done within like a week, and it you couldn't tell where
Oh,
this. There were a couple places where you're like, okay, there's definitely something, but for the most part, you couldn't tell because she was able to match the gauge and everything. It's
wow.
Wow.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Talent, talent,
yeah,
That's
sheer talent.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah. All right, we're
yeah.
gonna run out of time. How can our audience help? And I'm gonna make an assumption here. You don't want people cleaning out their stash and shipping it to you.
No, thank you. No,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Please don't do that. I need to stay married, and one of the things that keeps me from getting kicked out of my house is keeping my stash at least hidden, and I can't hide anyone else's stash. I have my stash, and that's it. So, the 3 ways you can help us. We always need more finishers, always, because there's times where I reach out to 5 people in a row, and 5 people in a row just don't have the time or don't have the skill to do what needs to happen. So, more finishers, the better. Please sign up. Don't get angry if you don't get a project right away. We still love you, and there's lots of ways to help as a finisher. If you've got a project, submit it. We'd love to have your project. That would be great. And we are a nonprofit. We are a 501c3, so you can donate money to us, and that helps us keep our doors open. Macy and I had been doing this for almost a year and a half before we became a 501c3, and with the help of donations, we're able to make this our full-time job, which is pretty spectacular. So with that, we can also help pay for our tech. Right now, all of our finishers are in our tech, and we're able to match really well, but our projects are still in spreadsheets. So we'd like to get out of there. So we have, we're trying to raise money to make that technology work better. So you can donate, you can submit, or you can become a finisher. And if you do have stash and you are looking for places to get rid of it, because we know that we've gotten that question a lot, on our donation page, if you scroll down past the part where we're asking for money, scroll down, you'll see a list of places that take donations of fabric, fiber, and fiber equipment. I think we've got one for at least one for every state in the union and every province in Canada and many places in England. And if you have an organization that needs fiber and would like donations, let us know, and we'll put you up on that spreadsheet. So those are the ways you can help. Does that
Yep,
clear as
that
mud?
does it. And I will
Yeah.
say that on the website, the flyers that they have, there's a couple there. They are PDFs, so you can download, you can print, but for most, you can easily attach those to an email to someone. So it's the kind of thing where download them, put them in a folder in your machine or on your tablet or whatever, have them handy. You never know.
You
And
never know.
yeah,
And it's funny because we were in Grange magazine. Did you know Grange's had a magazine? They do. Some of you don't know what a Grange is, but it's a place where farmers meet up in rural counties. And Grange magazine just put our flyer in their magazine to put up in the Grange, which we thought was fantastic. So yeah, if you have a flyer and if you send those flyers around an email, or if you have the time and energy, print them out and put them around your neighborhood, that'd be great too. And if you don't see a language that your community uses, let us know, and let us know if you have a native speaker, because we are always happy to put up another flyer with another language.
okay.
It helps us spread the word, and it helps us increase the community of around the world of finishers too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
very
and I was
cool.
thinking, as you were talking, another place to get flyers to would be your local funeral home.
Yep. Yep.
Another point of contact. Yeah.
Yeah, when people, and that's something we've been trying to do, is get in touch with people who are in the aging in place community, and and people who are cleaning out places as parents are moving into retirement communities, places like that. We're trying to get those people aware of us too. So if you're in that industry and you want to talk, you can always reach out to info at looseends.project.org too, and that's all on our website as well.
Yep. All right, Jen. Thank you. Wow,
Thanks so much.
what a great undertaking. Really fantastic. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I can't believe I get to wake up every day and this is my job now. It's
Okay.
pretty spectacular. We, you know, the community around us has been so supportive. The fiber community, like people in the craft alliance and things like that, they've been really supportive of us.
Yep.
I think everyone just thinks that it's something that they can get behind, which is fantastic.
Yep.
It's really
No,
wonderful.
it's a really a great thing. All right, folks. It's Loose Ends. Loose Ends with an S on the end.org is the website, and go there, sign up, become a finisher, get the flyers, do the things. Jen, thanks so much. We appreciate it. Thanks to everyone for listening.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much for having me. This was super fun. I thank you.
Yep.